Danny, your thoughts on the performance?
Really positive, you know, and sometimes it's easy as a coach or manager to come out and you've lost a couple and just keep trying to put a positive spin on it. But we knew after Wimbledon, or before Wimbledon, that it was going to be a real challenging period coming up to January, and I think the Wimbledon game showed the grit that we're going to need in this period, or have needed, and we got the win that day. Really disappointed we haven't picked up a point between now and Fleetwood, so let's not get that one misunderstood. We're not all high-fiving there because we've lost 2 games on the trot, but at the same time I always go by the reaction of supporters, and to have 2.5 or whatever it was staying and clapping and singing, I think they don't do that, don't see effort or endeavour and skill, and I think you saw all of those things in terms of the goals conceded. We were disappointed with them. You know, I think we're going at half-time 1-0, Liam scores 2-0. I'm not saying it's game over, but gives you a hell of a chance of something to hang on to. But any team that concedes can say disappointed with the goals, because there's always something you could have stopped for the goal to happen. But just before half-time, that was a bit of a killer. But the boys stuck with it. We had a 5-minute spell after they scored their second, and although it looked like we were a bit wobbly, we now defended well to make sure it didn't go 3, because then it would have been a mountain. And then they didn't really come out there after the second half. Bradford, I thought we played really, really well, but they won the game, so fair play to Bradford. But yeah, in terms of possession and attacking threat and looking to pass and play and move, I thought we were a much better team. But it's another 0 point, so we're certainly not happy with that. But we had 13 recognised pros today to choose from, and it was tough actually picking the 11 out of those 13. And the gaffer went with that 11. I thought they did them, and the support was proud. You know, in terms of endeavour, things we can improve on as ever. But we've got one more game to get through, to potential reinforcements, to potential returns of a few lads who've been out for a while with injuries. And suddenly it looks a bit rosier. We've had a little look at the league table in there. We dropped to 9th, yet we're 3 points off second. So yeah, it's not the end of the world, but yeah, certainly disappointed to be leaving here, getting on that coach back to Chesterfield with no points.
Yeah, I'm going to say, is the dressing room a little bit disappointed there?
Yeah.
That look, they've put in a real good show. This is what we've got. The cards are on the table. This is the team that it is. And
Yeah.
you've come and against a side with a really good home record and taking it to them.
We've tried to take that excuse away from them, really, because the 11 that are playing, you know, are lads that were brought in to play, you know, or they believed they could play. So, you know, we're not like you asked, we're not at the stage of wheeling out 3 or 4 academy lads in the starting team. We've got some really good players, or all good players in that starting 11. So it certainly isn't an excuse or a seed we're putting in the players' heads to say, well, if we lose, it's because we haven't got 18, 19 players to choose from. Far from it. We're really disappointed to lose, but like I say, those boys have shown real robustness, and lads like Dobra and Mark Andy, all of them really, you know, Mandeville, Banks, you know, these moments will make them stronger, not only mentally but physically. You know, for the younger lads especially, that robustness to play and to train, play again and play again, I think is really important for their development. So I think that's why you're seeing people like Dobra maybe go to another level now, because he is playing all the time. You start to have that belief that I'm the main man, no one's taking that shirt off me. So I'm talking about potential reinforcements coming in January. Those lads playing today might not want that, because they don't want to lose that shirt, and I thought they played for large periods with that mindset.
Was there obviously not enough options on the bench? Was perhaps one of the cutting things as well today? You could have gone for other things. You could have thrown the young 16-year-old on Gunnar Elliott again, but the option was, well, you're playing well. I guess that was the option. Yeah,
that was the option, and I think you bring on those lads, and sometimes it's unfair to bring on a young lad in this sort of environment situation when you're chasing something. Sometimes there's throwing them in at the deep end, and then there's maybe a little bit harsh when you can sort of juggle the pack and still try and get a point out of the game. I thought there was only one team really looking to go for it second half, but then maybe teams could say that about our game against Wimbledon. Well, we didn't really get her off for the last 15-20 minutes, so that certainly isn't a criticism of Bradford. They've won today fair and square, but I think going forward those supporters will travel back to Chesterfield with a lot of positive things to take out of this day.
How hard is it going to keep Dylan Mark Andy?
Well, that's up to Blackburn. You know, I think I've said to you before about speaking for the lad, he seems very happy. He's playing some good stuff. Some of the skill he produces, it gets supporters off their feet. All the ole start coming out, and so he looks like a player that's happy. He's one of the most disappointed in there, you know, because like I say, as well as certain players played today, it's very flat in that dressing room, because we don't like losing. We're not used to losing, and we don't want to make it a habit. We've lost 2 in the trot. There's no those circumstances around that, but we backed ourselves to go and win at Fleetwood, and we backed ourselves to win today.
No James Berry in the 18 today. What's the situation there?
Yeah, he felt a tight hamstring after the game at Fleetwood, and I think with the amount of list we've got, the gaffer was keen to make sure a strain didn't turn into a tear. But I would say him and Colclough are probably the two closest to returning.
Yeah, I was going to back to ask you then for New Year's Day. It's only a couple of days as well, so that those two are the only ones really.
As it stands, yeah. And listen, I think it's difficult because like I said earlier, you go into this period knowing it's going to be tough, knowing we might have to just bumble our way through and pick up an odd point here and there, and so that makes it even more hard to take that the last 2 games where we probably felt we deserved at least a point, we haven't got 1 point out of the 2 games. So yeah, loads to look back on. It's not just a case of patting everyone on the backs and go, well, you're going the extra mile. You know, we've come into this league, unlike a lot of clubs that get promoted from the National League, just to be happy to mid-table and stay up. We want to push on and go again. But with that comes a lot of speed bumps and a lot of days like today where you leave here feeling a bit sick. But it's much better to leave when you've lost and given it your all than lost and feel like we've just given the points to the opposition without really trying.
Performances by Markande, Dobra, Berry to a certain extent as well are always going to have questions about the January transfer window. There's always going to be questions about that. Have you had any sort of knockings on the door from any other clubs yet?
No, not that I'm aware of. I think in terms of people like Dobra, I said to him before the game, he's starting to show a lot of real captain and leadership qualities and a maturity that maybe he didn't have a year or 2 ago. You know, that petulance and that sort of eagerness to impress, he's now tamed that into what looks like a really classy footballer and a leader. So, and that's just picking one out, because I think all over lads had a few niggles and knocks and played through the pain. And it's all very well saying we come here and try and roll our sleeves out. It wasn't just a gritty old performance. We played some really good football, especially in that first half. The first goal, you know, the ball from Banksy, and it was really good football. So we are still playing the Gaffer's way, whilst rolling our sleeves up and going, look, we're up against it now. We have to get through that pain barrier, go the extra mile. When that tank is empty, just find that little bit more juice to push on to the final whistle. And it's just a shame, because I did feel like at some point we were going to get an all singing, all dancing equalised 94th, 95th, and why the referee blew for that free kick, I'll never know. But listen, it's all ifs and buts. We had a right go and it wasn't to be today.
Bailey Hobson almost got in there as well. He was. I mean, you put him up front for the back sort of 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Was that the theory? Just look, he's run his socks off today. Let's go and stick him up front for a bit.
Well, he did a lot of Alfreton. He played off Big Matty Reid at Alfreton and made those through runs at times. He looks like a bit of a Jeff Horsfield throwback, doesn't he? You know, that sort of hustle and bustle and putting your foot in. And the fans like him, you know. And I think, like most of our players, when they do see that effort right to the end, when everyone's paid their hard-earned money to come and watch, you know, they will clap us off. But believe me, we're disappointed, because we wanted to be 6 points better off than we are. Yes, we're only 3 points off third, but we now want to go and make sure we beat MK Dons.